Well, welcome back to GLBC Connections. We hope that you're encouraged this Christmas week, that you're celebrating the birth of Christ, and we hope that you can join in with some of your loved ones. What a difficult time we're in, but we're going to make it. In light of that, our Christmas Eve service is on Thursday at 7 p.m. and so it's a live stream, right? So no, we're not going to gather in person. We thought we'll live stream it, and you can sing from home. If you want candles, you can come by the church and grab a few during a silent night. Anyways, it'll just be a little different, but I think good. And we hope that you can gather with friends and your bubble friends, your COVID bubble friends, or family, and worship Christ on Christmas Eve and celebrate. So this morning we're looking at Mark chapter 7 as we continue on in the Gospel, verses 1 through 13. And another Mark says something that I think connects really nicely with the Gospel of Mark. Mark Twain says, "Everyone is a moon and has a dark side which he never shows to anybody." Isn't it true? I think we can relate to that we often have a bright side that it's nice to see, but there are things that we like to hide. And so 3 statements as we think about Mark 7 and the words of Jesus that I think fit well with this passage. And so first, we lean naturally towards making our own religious systems, our own ideas and rules of what is right and wrong and pleasing to God. And so we add these things to the important things, and they're not always accurate. Second thing, we lean naturally towards measuring others by those same sets of standards that we have created, and then so it's easier to look at others instead of our own selves, and we use the systems that we create, religious systems. And then third, we lean naturally towards working on and presenting the outside appearances and ignore the heart issues. So we come to Mark 7, and the Pharisees are a little upset. I hope you read it, by the way. Pause it and read it right now. But the Pharisees are upset that the disciples aren't washing their hands appropriately. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? And what we understand is that the Pharisees had hundreds and hundreds of rules that they used to really kind of control and oppress people religiously. If you look at verse 4 of chapter 7, Mark hints at this. He says, when they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash, and they observe many other traditions, such as the washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So there's many other rules. Jesus says something in verse 13. He says the same idea. Thus you nullify the word of God by your tradition that you have handed down, and you do many things like that. So Jesus is confronting their hypocrisy. And so we see very concretely in verse 6 what Jesus is going after. He says this, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it is written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. And so they had all these standards that they wanted to live out. Rules, but their hearts, they did not really truly honor God, and that's something we should think about. And so if we look down at verse 9, Jesus confronts them on a specific issue, which really is an example of the many. He says, you have a fine way of setting aside the commands of God in order to observe your own traditions. For Moses said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. And so Jesus is going after the fact that they weren't honoring their parents. But you say that if anyone declares that what might have been used to help their father or mother is korban, that is, devoted to God, then you no longer let them do anything for their father or mother. Thus you nullify the word of God. And so they would say this thing, they would say korban. and it was like a loophole in the law. And so they would say Corban about these funds, and then they didn't have to use them. They were for God, but they didn't take care of their parents. And so this is a problem, and Jesus is confronting their hypocrisy. And so as we think about our own tendencies where we lean naturally to want to point the finger to others and not look at our own heart issues, I think it's just really important that we reflect and take some time after thinking about this passage to reflect on our own hearts. What religious things do we put in place, and how do we hold other people to those standards, and then how do we naturally present the outside and not take care of the inside? So 3 questions. What have you added to your pursuit of Christ that looks good to others? Number 2, how do you look down on others because they are not doing those things? And then 3, what hard issues are you avoiding that would show true devotion to Christ? And so what are you not dealing with? What is the dark side of the moon that you never show anyone that is not pleasing to God, while at the same time you have these outer things that look beautiful and bright? And so think about those 3 questions, reflect on them, and confess and move towards Christ in these moments. Well, God bless. Thanks for your time today. Have a Merry Christmas.